By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. Daring ideas are like chessmen moved forward. They may be beaten, but they may start a winning game. To think is easy. To act is hard. But the hardest thing in the world is to act in accordance with your thinking. We do not have to visit a madhouse to find disordered minds. Our planet is the mental institution of the universe. I have so much in me, and the feeling for her absorbs it all. I have so much, and without her it all comes to nothing. I have possessed that heart, that noble soul, in whose presence I seem to be more than I really was, because I was all that I could be. One ought every day at least to hear a little song, read a good poem, see a fine picture, and if it were possible to speak a few reasonable words. Every day one should at least hear one little song, read one good poem, see one fine painting, and if at all possible speak a few sensible words. If you treat an individual as he is, he will remain how he is. But if you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be. The world is so empty if one thinks only of mountains, rivers, and cities. But to know someone who thinks and feels with us, and who, though distant, is close to us in spirit, this makes the earth for us an inhabited garden. A man should hear a little music, read a little poetry, and see a fine picture every day of his life, in order that worldly cares may not obliterate the sense of the beautiful which God has implanted in the human soul. The human race is a monotonous affair. Most people spend the greatest part of their time working in order to live, and what little freedom remains so fills them with fear that they seek out any and every means to be rid of it. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter. Doubt thou the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar. But never doubt I love. If music be the food of love, play on. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. My only love sprung from my only hate. You speak an infinite deal of nothing. Lord, what fools these mortals be! These violent delights have violent ends. Though she be but little, she is fierce. This above all, to thine own self be true. To be or not to be, that is the question. Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. We know what we are, but not what we may be. Don't waste your love on somebody who doesn't value it. I like this place and could willingly waste my time in it. It is not in the stars to hold our destiny but in ourselves. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars but in ourselves. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Words are easy like the wind, faithful friends are hard to find. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. Cowards die many times before their deaths, but the valiant taste death but once. The course of true love never did run smooth, but either it was different in blood. My tongue will tell the anger of my heart, or else my heart concealing it will break. Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. Love looks not with the eyes but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Nor hath love's mind of any judgment taste, wings and no eyes figure unheedy haste, and therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he is so oft beguiled. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopeless. Love comes into being through useful service to others. The inner self is as distinct from the outer self as heaven is from earth. Such as the love is, such is the wisdom. Consequently, such is the man. In 368. People are unaware that spirits even exist, let alone that angels are present with them. Man, before he is being regenerated, does not even know that any internal man exists. Much. This I can declare. Things that are in heaven are more real than things that are in the world. Love consists in desiring to give what is our own to another, and feeling his delight as our own. We do need to realize, though, that it is the quality of our love that determines the quality of this life. Peace has in it trust in the Lord, that he governs all things, provides all things, and leads to a good end. The nature of heaven is to provide a place there for all who lead good lives, no matter what their religion may be. A spiritual church first becomes a church when it acts as bidden by charity, charity being the true teaching of faith. For every man's soul is in a spiritual body after it has cast off the material coverings which it carried about in the world. Anyone can see that intending and not acting when weakened is not really intending, and loving and not doing good when weakened is not really loving. Everything good or true that the angels inspire in us is God's, so God is constantly talking to us. He talks very differently, though, to one person than to another. For heaven is within us, and people who have heaven within them come into heaven. The heaven within us is our acknowledgement of the divine and our being led by the divine. The spiritual idea of distances of space is the same as of distances of good or distances of truth, which are affinities and likenesses according to states of goodness and truth. All the ancient churches were churches representative of spiritual things. The rites, and also the statutes, according to which their worship was established, consisted of pure correspondence. In the spiritual body, moreover, man appears such as he is with respect to love and faith. For everyone in the spiritual world is the effigy of his own love, not only as to the face and the body, but also as to the speech and the actions. Kindness is an inner desire that makes us want to do good things even if we do not get anything in return. It is the joy of our life to do them. When we do good things from this inner desire, there is kindness in everything we think, say, want, and do. What could be sweeter to us than to hear and persuade ourselves that we can be saved, even if we live like a savage beast? Even non-Christians see that this is false, and many of them shudder at Christian teachings when they observe how Christians live. Others work among the spirits that have just arrived in the world of spirits. Again, others raise the children who have died in infancy. Swedenborg ensures the parents of these infants that all children, whether born within or outside of the church, are adopted by the Lord and become angels. It is amazing but true that it is easy for any of us to rebuke someone else who is intending to do something evil and say, "Don't do that, that's a sin." And yet it is difficult for us to say the same thing to ourselves. The reason is that saying it to ourselves requires a movement of the will, but saying it to someone else requires only a low level of thought based on things we have heard. People who have intended and loved what is evil in the world intend and love what is evil in the other life, and then they no longer allow themselves to be led away from it. This is why people who are absorbed in evil are connected to hell and actually are there in spirit. And after death, they crave above all to be where their evil is. So after death, it is we, not the Lord, who cast ourselves into hell. Man, when he is reborn, passes through the ages as he who is born, and the preceding state is always as an egg in respect to the subsequent one. Thus he is continually conceived and born, and this not only when he lives in the world, but also when he comes into another life to eternity, and still when he cannot be further perfected, then to be as an egg to those things which remain to be manifested, which are indefinite. A life of faith without love is like sunlight without warmth, the type of light that occurs in winter, when nothing grows and everything droops and dies. Faith rising out of love, on the contrary, is like light from the sun in spring, when everything grows and flourishes. Warmth from the sun is the fertile agent. The same is true in spiritual and heavenly affairs, which are typically represented in the Word by objects found in nature and human culture. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make any. Dare to think for yourself. Love truth but pardon error. Common sense is not so common. Faith consists in believing what reason cannot. The secret of being a bore is to tell everything. Every man is guilty of all the good he did not do. I don't know where I am going, but I am on my way. Ice cream is exquisite. What a pity it isn't illegal. Judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. Now, my good man, this is no time to be making enemies. The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood. Cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. God is a comedian playing to an audience that is too afraid to laugh. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. Think for yourself, and let others enjoy the privilege of doing so too. Doubt is an uncomfortable condition, but certainty is a ridiculous one. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. It is better to risk saving a guilty person than to condemn an innocent one. The more I read, the more I acquire, the more certain I am that I know nothing. It is dangerous to be right in matters on which the established authorities are wrong. Let us read and let us dance. These two amusements will never do any harm to the world. Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. I have never made but one prayer to God, a very short one. O Lord, make my enemies ridiculous, and God granted it. Every man is a creature of the age in which he lives, and few are able to raise themselves above the ideas of the time. It is forbidden to kill. Therefore all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets. Our wretched species is so made that those who walk on the well-trodden path always throw stones at those who are showing a new road. Fools have a habit of believing that everything written by a famous author is admirable. For my part, I read only to please myself and like only what suits my taste. Despite the enormous quantity of books, how few people read. And if one reads profitably, one would realize how much stupid stuff the vulgar herd is content to swallow every day. I have wanted to kill myself 100 times, but somehow I am still in love with life. This ridiculous weakness is perhaps one of our more stupid melancholy propensities. For is there anything more stupid than to be eager to go on carrying a burden which one would gladly throw away, to loathe one's very being and yet to hold it fast, to fondle the snake that devours us until it has eaten our hearts away? By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved. Brisk talkers are generally slow thinkers. Vision is the art of seeing things invisible. War, that mad game the world so loves to play. In men desire begets love, and in women love begets desire. Every man desires to live long, but no man wishes to be old. Everybody wants to live forever, but nobody wants to grow old. Live every day as your last, because one of these days it will be. You cannot reason a person out of something they were not reasoned into. Politics, as the word is commonly understood, are nothing but corruptions. I never wonder to see men wicked, but I often wonder to see them not ashamed. Power is no blessing in itself, except when it is used to protect the innocent. There is no vice which mankind carries to such wild extremes as that of avarice. We have enough religion to make us hate, but not enough to make us love one another. There are few wild beasts more to be dreaded than a talking man having nothing to say. Laws are like cobwebs which may catch small flies, but let wasps and hornets break through. Some men, under the notion of weeding out prejudice, eradicate virtue, honesty, and religion. Every day is an opportunity to make a new happy ending. May you live all the days of your life. Satire is a sort of glass, wherein beholders do generally discover everybody's face but their own. How is it possible to expect that mankind will take advice when they will not so much as take warning? The ruin of a state is generally preceded by an universal degeneracy of manners and contempt of religion. You should never be ashamed to admit you have been wrong. It only proves you are wiser today than yesterday. When a true genius appears, you can know him by this sign, that all the dunces are in a confederacy against him. Falsehood flies and truth comes limping after it, so that when men come to be undeceived, it is too late. The jest is over, and the tale hath had its effect. I have ever hated all nations, professions, and communities, and all my love is toward individuals. For instance, I hate the tribe of lawyers, but I love. So with physicians, I will not speak of my own trade, soldiers, English, Scotch, French, and the rest. But principally I hate and detest that animal called man, although I heartily love John, Peter, Thomas, and so forth. This is the system upon which I have governed myself many years, but do not tell. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily. Friends are thieves of time. Wonder is the seed of knowledge. All colors will agree in the dark. Money is a great servant, but a bad master. Silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. Man prefers to believe what he prefers to be true. A bad man is worse when he pretends to be a saint. Who questions much shall learn much and retain much. Prosperity discovers vice, adversity discovers virtue. A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds. We rise to great heights by a winding staircase of small steps. It's not what we profess, but what we practice that gives us integrity. Truth can never be reached by just listening to the voice of an authority. I will never be an old man. To me, old age is always 15 years older than I am. Hope is the most beneficial of all the affections, and doth much to the prolongation of life. If we are to achieve things never before accomplished, we must employ methods never before attempted. Write down the thoughts of the moment. Those that come unsought for are commonly the most valuable. Read not to contradict and confute, nor to believe and take for granted, but to weigh and consider. A little science estranges a man from God, but an in-depth study of science makes him a believer in God. Imagination was given to man to compensate him for what he is not, a sense of humor to console him for what he is. If a man will begin with certainties, he shall end in doubts, but if he will content to begin with doubts, he shall end in certainties. Begin doing what you want to do now. We are not living in eternity. We have only this moment, sparkling like a star in our hand and melting like a snowflake. There is a difference between happiness and wisdom. He that thinks himself the happiest man is really so, but he that thinks himself the wisest is generally the greatest fool. It's not what we eat but what we digest that makes us strong, not what we gain but what we save that makes us rich. Not what we read, but what we remember that makes us learned, and not what we profess, but what we practice that gives us integrity. Some men covet knowledge out of a natural curiosity and inquisitive temper, some to entertain the mind with variety and delight, some for ornament and reputation, some for victory and contention, many for lucre and a livelihood, and but few for employing the divine gift of reason to the use and benefit of mankind. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. Hell is truth seen too late. The law is the public conscience. Life is nasty, brutish, and short. Leisure is the mother of philosophy. If nobody makes you do it, it counts as fun. It is not wisdom but authority that makes a law. Where there is no common power, there is no law. Unnecessary laws are not good laws, but traps for money. Humans are driven by a perpetual and restless desire of power. The passions of men are commonly more potent than their reason. For if all things were equally in all men, nothing would be prized. Religions are like pills, which must be swallowed whole without chewing. Life in the state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. The condition of man is a condition of war of everyone against everyone. The first and fundamental law of nature, which is, to seek peace and follow it. If any two men desire the same thing, which nevertheless they cannot both enjoy, they become enemies. All men among themselves are by nature equal. The inequality we now discern hath its spring from the civil law. Ignorance of the law is no good excuse, where every man is bound to take notice of the laws to which he is subject. Government is necessary, not because man is naturally bad, but because man is by nature more individualistic than social. The original of all great and lasting societies consisted not in the mutual good will men had toward each other, but in the mutual fear they had of each other. The right of nature is the liberty each man hath to use his own power as he will himself for the preservation of his own nature, that is to say, of his own life. How could a state be governed, or protected in its foreign relations, if every individual remained free to obey, or not to obey the law according to his private opinion? A democracy is no more than an aristocracy of orators. The people are so readily moved by demagogues that control must be exercised by the government over speech and press. There is no such thing as perpetual tranquility of mind while we live here, because life itself is but motion, and can never be without desire, nor without fear, no more than without sense. To this war of every man against every man, this also inconsequent, that nothing can be unjust. The notions of right and wrong, justice and injustice have there no place. Where there is no common power, there is no law, where no law, no injustice. Force and fraud are in war the cardinal virtues. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those. Man, being is essentially his own deed. For architecture in general is frozen music. All life is founded upon something independent from itself. Nature shall be the visible spirit, and spirit, invisible nature. Poison does not attack the body, but the body attacks the poison. The past is known, the present is recognized, the future is divined. Die Nader schlägt im Menschen die Augen auf unbemerkt, das sei de ist. Dead matter has no external world. It is absolutely identical with its world. 1. All rules for study are summed up in this one. Learn only in order to create. To achieve great things we must be self-confined. Mastery is revealed in limitation. The human brain is the highest bloom of the whole organic metamorphosis of the earth. Without contradiction, there would be no life, no movement, no progress, a deadly slumber of all forces. This is not the time to reawaken old oppositions, but rather to seek what lies above and beyond all opposition. The soul of all hatred is love, and in the fiercest rage, what reveals itself is merely the stillness, assailed and stirred up at its innermost center. Learn only in order that you yourself may create. Only this divine ability to create makes a true human being. Without it, one is simply a cleverly constructed machine. 3. The failure to invest in civil justice is directly related to the increase in criminal disorder. The more people feel there is injustice, the more it becomes part of their psyche. The I think I am is, since Descartes, the basic mistake of all knowledge. Thinking is not my thinking, and being is not my being, for everything is only of God or of the totality. Nature is supposed to be the visible spirit, and spirit the invisible nature. Here, therefore, in the absolute identity of the spirit within us and the nature outside of us, the problem of how a nature outside of us could be possible must be resolved. That which Dante saw written on the door of the Inferno must be written in a different sense also at the entrance to philosophy. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Those who look for true philosophy must be bereft of all hope, all desire, all longing. They must not wish for anything, not know anything, must feel completely bare and impoverished. Far from it being true that man and his activity makes the world comprehensible, he is himself the most incomprehensible of all, and drives me relentlessly to the view of the accursedness of all being, a view manifested in so many painful signs in ancient and modern times. It is precisely man who drives me to the final despairing question: why is there something? Why not nothing? Man has been placed on that summit where he contains within him the source of self-impulsion toward good and evil in equal measure. The nexus of the principles within him is not a bond of necessity, but of freedom. He stands at the dividing line. Whatever he chooses will be his act, but he cannot remain in indecision because God must necessarily reveal himself, and because nothing at all in creation can remain ambiguous. Nothing upsets the philosophical mind more than when he hears that from now on all philosophy is supposed to lie caught in the shackles of one system. Never has he felt greater than when he sees before him the infinitude of knowledge. The entire dignity of his science consists in the fact that it will never be completed. In that moment in which he would believe to have completed his system, he would become unbearable to himself. He would, in that moment, cease to be a creator, and would instead descend to being an instrument of his creation. There is no greatness without a continual solicitation to madness which, while it must be overcome, must never be completely lacking. One might profit by classifying men in this respect. The one kind are those in whom there is no madness at all, and are so-called men of intellect whose works and deeds are nothing but cold works and deeds of the intellect. But where there is no madness, there is, to be sure, also no real, active, living intellect. For wherein is intellect to prove itself, but in the conquest, mastery, and ordering of madness? Following the eternal act of self-revelation, the world as we now behold it is all rule, order, and form, but the unruly lies ever in the depths as though it might again break through, and order and form nowhere appear to have been original, but it seems as though what had initially been unruly had been brought to order. This is the incomprehensible basis of reality in things, the irreducible remainder which cannot be resolved into reason by the greatest exertion, but always remains in the depths. Out of this which is unreasonable, reason in the true sense is born. Without this preceding gloom, creation would have no reality. Darkness is its necessary heritage. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be. No one you love is ever truly lost. You must be prepared to work always without applause. Today is only one day, and all the days that will ever be. You may talk and I may listen, and miracles might happen. Men cannot act before the camera in the presence of death. When you stop doing things for fun, you might as well be dead. Never delay kissing a pretty girl or opening a bottle of whiskey. Life breaks all of us, but some of us get stronger in the broken places. Remember, everything is right until it's wrong. You'll know when it's wrong. The most essential gift for a good writer is a built-in, shock-proof shit detector. I love sleep. My life has the tendency to fall apart when I'm awake, you know. The world breaks everyone, and afterward some are strong at the broken places. I love you for all that you are, all that you have been, all that you're yet to be. Critics are men who watch a battle from a high place, then come down and shoot the survivors. I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen. Before you react, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you criticize, wait. Before you quit, try. Ernest Hemingway quote, "There is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility." Ernest Hemingway quote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards some are strong at the broken places." The rain will stop, the night will end, the hurt will fade. Hope is never so lost that it can't be found. There is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility lies in being superior to your former self. The most painful thing is losing yourself in the process of loving someone too much, and forgetting that you are special too. Every man's life ends the same way. It is only the details of how he lived and how he died that distinguish one man from another. Night is always darker before the dawn, and life is the same. The hard times will pass. Everything will get better and sun will shine brighter than ever. Worry a little bit every day, and in a lifetime you will lose a couple of years. If something is wrong, fix it if you can. But train yourself not to worry. Worry never fixes anything. The first panacea for a mismanaged nation is inflation of the currency. The second is war. Both bring a temporary prosperity. Both bring a permanent ruin. But both are the refuge of political and economic opportunists. The best people possess a feeling for beauty, the courage to take risks, the discipline to tell the truth, the capacity for sacrifice. Ironically, their virtues make them vulnerable. They are often wounded, sometimes destroyed. Try to learn to breathe deeply, really to taste food when you eat, and when you sleep, really to sleep. Try as much as possible to be wholly alive with all your might, and when you laugh, laugh like hell. And when you get angry, get good and angry. Try to be alive. You will be dead soon enough. The world breaks everyone, or nearly everyone, of their childish illusions, assumptions and wishes, often painfully, and afterwards due to the personal growth in practical experience, insight, and the resulting wisdom. Many are strong at the broken places, just like mended broken bones often are. And some people even have the great insight to be grateful for the purifying fire. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily. Life itself is a quotation. Only in the present do things happen. Truth never penetrates an unwilling mind. Doubt is one of the names of intelligence. Don't talk unless you can improve the silence. The original is unfaithful to the translation. In my next life, I will try to commit more errors. Time forks perpetually toward innumerable futures. Creativity is suspended between memory and forgetting. It only takes two facing mirrors to build a labyrinth. What you really value is what you miss, not what you have. I saw all the mirrors on earth, and none of them reflected me. While we are asleep in this world, we are awake in another one. Being with you, and not being with you, is the only way I have to measure time. When writers die, they become books, which is, after all, not too bad an incarnation. So plant your own gardens and decorate your own soul, instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. The worst labyrinth is not that intricate form that can entrap us forever, but a single and precise straight line. I can give you my loneliness, my darkness, the hunger of my heart. I am trying to bribe you with uncertainty, with danger, with defeat. Dictatorships foster oppression. Dictatorships foster servitude. Dictatorships foster cruelty. More abominable is the fact that they foster idiocy. I am not sure that I exist, actually. I am all the writers that I have read, all the people that I have met, all the women that I have loved, all the cities I have visited. All that happens to us, including our humiliations, our misfortunes, our embarrassments, all is given to us as raw material, as clay, so that we may shape our art. I am not sure that I exist, actually. I am all the writers that I have read, all the people that I have met, all the women that I have loved, all the cities I have visited. Chuang Tzu tells us of a persevering man who after 3 laborious years mastered the art of dragon slaying. For the rest of his days, he had not a single opportunity to test his skills. Time is the substance from which I am made. Time is a river which carries me along, but I am the river. It is a tiger that devours me, but I am the tiger. It is a fire that consumes me, but I am the fire. If you using local color in an unobtrusive way, it is all for the good. But if you stress it, the whole thing is artificial. But it should be used, it's not forbidden. But you don't have to stress it. Of all man's instruments, the most wondrous, no doubt, is the book. The other instruments are extensions of his body. The microscope, the telescope, are extensions of his sight. The telephone is the extension of his voice. Then we have the plow and the sword, extensions of the arm. But the book is something else altogether. The book is an extension of memory and imagination. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats. Neither blame or praise yourself. Time is the wisest of all counselors. Character is simply habit long continued. For the wise man, every day is a festival. To fail to do good is as bad as doing harm. Knavery is the best defense against a knave. Instead of using medicine, better fast today. A few vices are sufficient to darken many virtues. What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. Those who aim at great deeds must also suffer greatly. Fate leads him who follows it and drags him who resists. The richest soil, if uncultivated, produces the rankest weeds. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Know how to listen, and you will profit even from those who talk badly. No beast is more savage than man, when possessed with power answerable to his rage. An imbalance between rich and poor is the oldest and most fatal ailment of all republics. The poor go to war, to fight and die for the delights, riches, and superfluities of others. The whole of life is but a moment of time. It is our duty, therefore, to use it, not to misuse it. I don't need a friend who changes when I change and who nods when I nod. My shadow does that much better. The real destroyer of the liberties of the people is he who spreads among them bounties, donations, and benefits. There are two sentences inscribed upon the ancient oracle: know thyself and nothing too much, and upon these all other precepts depend. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter. I feel an army in my fist. To save all we must risk all. Keep true to the dreams of thy youth. There are 3 lessons I would write. Every true genius is bound to be naive. We shall be free, just as our fathers were. When the wine goes in, strange things come out. The voice of the majority is no proof of justice. Against stupidity, the gods themselves struggle in vain. Live with your century, but do not be its creature. Against stupidity, the gods themselves contend in vain. The joke loses everything when the joker laughs himself. Truth exists for the wise, beauty for the feeling heart. Man is never so authentically himself than when at play. The iron chain and the silken cord are both equally bonds. Did you think the lion was sleeping because he didn't roar? Grace is the beauty of form under the influence of freedom. Disappointments are to the soul what a thunderstorm is to the air. Dare to err and to dream. Deep meaning often lies in childish play. It is not flesh and blood, but heart which makes us fathers and sons. Our age is enlightened. How is it then that we still remain barbarians? Only through beauty's morning gate dost thou penetrate the land of knowledge. Be noble-minded. Our own heart and not other men's opinions of us forms our true honor. If you cannot please everyone with your deeds and your art please a few, to please many is bad. Deeper meaning resides in the fairy tales told me in my childhood than any truth that is taught in life. On the mountains there is freedom. The world is perfect everywhere, save where man comes with his torment. Only those who have the patience to do simple things perfectly will acquire the skill to do difficult things easily. Man only plays when he is, in the fullest sense of the word, a human being, and he is only fully a human being when he plays. In the case of the creative mind, it seems to me, the intellect has withdrawn its watchers from the gates, and the ideas rush in pell-mell, and only then does it review and inspect the multitude. You worthy critics, or whatever you may call yourselves, are ashamed or afraid of the momentary and passing madness which is found in all real creators, the longer or shorter duration of which distinguishes the thinking artist from the dreamer. Hence your complaints of unfruitfulness, for you reject too soon and discriminate too severely. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who write your sad times in sand. Write your good times in stone. Don't wait for the right opportunity, create it. War does not decide who is right but who is left. The person I miss most is the one I could have been. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Beware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. The only time my education was interrupted was when I was in school. Take care to get what you like, or you will be forced to like what you get. People who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. The things most people want to know about are usually none of their business. No diet will remove all the fat from your body, because the brain is entirely fat. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. A government that robs Peter to pay Paul can always depend on the support of Paul. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. He knows nothing and thinks he knows everything. That points clearly to a political career. I learned long ago never to wrestle with a pig. You get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. A socialist is somebody who doesn't have anything, and is ready to divide it up equally among everybody. The longer I live, the more convinced am I that this planet is used by other planets as a lunatic asylum. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. Both optimists and pessimists contribute to society. The optimist invents the aeroplane, the pessimist the parachute. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. No diet will remove all the fat from your body because the brain is entirely fat. Without a brain, you might look good, but all you could do is run for public office. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Don't lose faith. Promise yourself that you will be a success story, and I promise you that all the forces of the universe will unite to come to your aid. You might not feel today or for a while, but the longer you wait, the bigger the prize. A Native American elder once described his own inner struggles in this manner. Inside of me there are two dogs. One of the dogs is mean and evil. The other dog is good. The mean dog fights the good dog all the time. When asked which dog wins, he reflected for a moment and replied, "The one I feed the most." This is the true joy in life. Being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None beauty will save the world. The soul is healed by being with children. But how could you live and have no story to tell? To love someone means to see them as God intended them. It takes something more than intelligence to act intelligently. I say let the world go to hell, but I should always have my tea. Taking a new step, uttering a new word is what people fear most. My God, a moment of bliss, why isn't that enough for a whole lifetime? Right or wrong, it's very pleasant to break something from time to time. Man only likes to count his troubles. He doesn't calculate his happiness. Man is sometimes extraordinarily, passionately in love with suffering. To go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. What is hell? I maintain that it is the suffering of being unable to love. Your worst sin is that you have destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing. It is better to be unhappy and know the worst than to be happy in a fool's paradise. Nothing in this world is harder than speaking the truth, nothing easier than flattery. Much unhappiness has come into the world because of bewilderment and things left unsaid. The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. I think the devil doesn't exist, but man has created him. He has created him in his own image and likeness. I can see the sun, but even if I cannot see the sun, I know that it exists, and to know that the sun is there, that is living. I love mankind, he said, but I find to my amazement that the more I love mankind as a whole, the less I love man in particular. The awful thing is that beauty is mysterious as well as terrible. God and the devil are fighting there, and the battlefield is the heart of man. Pain and suffering are always inevitable for a large intelligence and a deep heart. The really great men must, I think, have great sadness on earth. We sometimes encounter people, even perfect strangers, who begin to interest us at first sight, somehow suddenly, all at once, before a word has been spoken. Talking nonsense is the sole privilege mankind possesses over the other organisms. It's by talking nonsense that one gets to the truth. I talk nonsense, therefore I'm human. People speak sometimes about the bestial cruelty of man, but that is terribly unjust and offensive to beasts. No animal could ever be so cruel as a man, so artfully, so artistically cruel. Man is a mystery. It needs to be unraveled, and if you spend your whole life unraveling it, don't say that you've wasted time. I am studying that mystery because I want to be a human being. Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and for others. And having no respect, he ceases to love. When I woke up, it seemed to me that some snatch of a tune I had known for a long time, I had heard somewhere before but had forgotten, a melody of great sweetness, was coming back to me now. It seemed to me that it had been trying to emerge from my soul all my life, and only now. The world says, "You have needs, satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and the mighty. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Indeed, expand your needs and demand more." This is the worldly doctrine of today, and they believe that this is freedom. The result for the rich is isolation and suicide, for the poor, envy and murder. If and when you fall in love, may you be happy with her. I don't need to wish her anything, for she'll be happy with you. May your sky always be clear. May your dear smile always be bright and happy, and may you be forever blessed for that moment of bliss and happiness which you gave to another lonely and grateful heart. Isn't such a moment sufficient for the whole of one's life? I am a dreamer. I know so little of real life that I just can't help reliving such moments as these in my dreams, for such moments are something I have very rarely experienced. I am going to dream about you the whole night, the whole week, the whole year. I feel I know you so well that I couldn't have known you better if we'd been friends for 20 years. You won't fail me, will you? Only 2 minutes and you've made me happy forever. Yes, happy. Who knows, perhaps you've reconciled me with myself, resolved all my doubts. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are. To have joy, one must share it. The devil was the first Democrat. I am ashes where once I was fire. I deny nothing but doubt everything. In solitude, when we are least alone. Adversity is the first path to truth. A drop of ink may make a million think. The heart will break, but broken live on. The best prophet of the future is the past. Always laugh when you can. It is cheap medicine. Opinions are made to be changed, or how is truth to be got at? If I could always read, I should never feel the want of company. The great art of life is sensation, to feel that we exist, even in pain. There is pleasure in the pathless woods, there is rapture in the lonely. I slept and dreamt that life was beauty. I woke and found that life was duty. Lord Byron quote, "Be thou the rainbow in the storms of life, the evening beam that." Friendship may, and often does, grow into love, but love never subsides into friendship. They used to say that knowledge is power. I used to think so, but I know now they mean money. Those who will not reason are bigots, those who cannot are fools, and those who dare not are slaves. Sorrow is knowledge. Those that know the most must mourn the deepest. The tree of knowledge is not the tree of life. Men think highly of those who rise rapidly in the world, whereas nothing rises quicker than dust, straw, and feathers. Be thou the rainbow in the storms of life, the evening beam that smiles the clouds away and tints tomorrow with prophetic ray. Always laugh when you can. It is cheap medicine. Merriment is a philosophy not well understood. It is the sunny side of existence. She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. There are 4 questions of value in life, Don Octavio. What is sacred? Of what is the spirit made? What is worth living for and what is worth dying for? The answer to each is the same: only love. There is pleasure in the pathless woods. There is rapture in the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes, by the deep sea and music in its roar. I love not man the less, but nature more. You don't love a woman because she is beautiful, but she is beautiful because you love her. Never underestimate the power of love. The way to love anything is to realize it may be lost. The heart has its reasons that reason does not know at all. Music is love in search of a word. There is pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes, by the deep sea and music in its roar. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily judge the character of love is a serious mental disease. There is truth in wine and children. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Only the dead have seen the end of war. Those who tell the stories rule society. You should not honor men more than truth. Ignorance, the root and stem of every evil. The measure of a man is what he does with power. I'm trying to think, don't confuse me with facts. The beginning is the most important part of the work. The madness of love is the greatest of heaven's blessings. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. Education is teaching our children to desire the right things. When men speak ill of thee, live so as nobody may believe them. Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow. Human behavior flows from 3 main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. If women are expected to do the same work as men, we must teach them the same things. There are 3 classes of men: lovers of wisdom, lovers of honor, and lovers of gain. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. There are 2 things a person should never be angry at: what they can help and what they cannot. Good people do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws. One of the penalties of refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Every heart sings a song incomplete until another heart whispers back. Those who wish to sing always find a song. At the touch of a lover, everyone becomes a poet. In politics, we presume that everyone who knows how to get votes knows how to administer a city or a state. When we are ill, we do not ask for the handsomest physician or the most eloquent one. Do not train a child to learn by force or harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds, so that you may be better able to discover with accuracy the peculiar bent of the genius of each. According to Greek mythology, humans were originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a head with 2 faces. Fearing their power, Zeus split them into two separate parts, condemning them to spend their lives in search of their other halves. And when one of them meets the other half, the actual half of himself, whether he be a lover of youth or a lover of another sort, the pair are lost in an amazement of love and friendship and intimacy, and one will not be out of the other's sight, as I may say, even for a moment. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can, sanity and happiness are an impossible combination. Classic, a book which people praise and don't read. Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else. Never tell the truth to people who are not worthy of it. God created war so that Americans would learn geography. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Wrinkles should merely indicate where the smiles have been. What would men be without women? Scarce, sir, mighty scarce. Loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience, this is the ideal life. Never put off till tomorrow what may be done day after tomorrow just as well. I did not attend his funeral, but I sent a nice letter saying I approved of it. I was gratified to be able to answer promptly, and I did. I said I didn't know. A lie can travel halfway around the world, while the truth is putting on its shoes. Never allow someone to be your priority, while allowing yourself to be their option. Reader, suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress, but I repeat myself. Don't go around saying the world owes you a living. The world owes you nothing. It was here first. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform or pause and reflect. Don't part with your illusions. When they are gone, you may still exist, but you have ceased to live. The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Truth is stranger than fiction, but it is because fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities. Truth isn't. But who prays for Satan? Who, in 18 centuries, has had the common humanity to pray for the one sinner that needed it most? Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it, and the writing will be just as it should be. I do not fear death. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. The difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. Tease the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. In a good bookroom you feel in some mysterious way that you are absorbing the wisdom contained in all the books through your skin, without even opening them. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must, I am my own heir. Will is the pimp of appetite. To believe that heaven can fit within hell. To go and to stay, and in staying to depart. Cats, in truth, are a perfect index of love. They say that anticipated sorrows kill twice over. Forgiving the vanquished is the triumph of victory. I know not the reason for the unreason that afflicts my reason. Give me weapons, then, since you are but stones, since you are but bronze. With a few flowers in my garden, half a dozen pictures and some books, I live without envy. When aggrieved peoples rise up and resolve to act, they never return without bloodshed or vengeance. Any wise book is a friend, for if it tires one, it ceases to speak. That offers counsel and issues reproof in private. Alonso shall be yours, for I hope you will find happiness with a man who is, in Castile, the pride of Medina, the flower of Olmedo. To believe a heaven can fit within a hell, to give one's life and soul to disillusionment, this is love. He who has known it understands. And that the only remedy was to cast one's gaze elsewhere, taking artful revenge by diverting one's thoughts, for love was a cruel bitterness. He was a fine, handsome tomcat, as gallant as he was amorous, with white whiskers and an open face, merry eyes and steady pupils the color of diamond-flecked emeralds. Once washed, and with paws she had just licked and dressed in her marten fur finery, she sang a sonnet, her voice forming in her throat with as much grace as the musician of Thrace might possess, though anyone hearing it would recognize it as feline music, full of chromatic discords that would drive the very mice to the devil. Spring was already peeking through. Woman is man's greatest good, and it is madness to call her his greatest evil. She is often his life and his delight, yet often his death and his poison. A heaven to the eyes, candid and serene, yet often likened by me to hell. For her goodness I proclaim her worth to the world. For her harshness I condemn the severity she visits upon man. She gives us her blood, she nurtures us. An instrument of lighter tone, a soft love song to soothe anger and disdain, the sorrows and the joys, not entirely forgetting the fierce asterisk tarantara drumbeat, yet tempered by the whistling of the sonorous rogue. Be that as it may, I will always esteem and adore the divine genius of this gentleman, taking from him what I understand with humility and admiring with veneration what I am unable to understand. To love because one sees love is envy, and to be jealous before one loves is a wondrous invention of love, one deemed impossible. My love has sprung from jealousy, born of the vexation that, despite being more beautiful, I was not fortunate enough in being loved to merit what I envy. I am mistrustful without cause, jealous without love, though in feeling this way I must surely love, for I desire to be loved. I neither yield to force nor do I defend myself. I wish to make myself understood without saying a word. Let him who can understand me. I understand myself. To desire because one sees desire would be envy, were it not that the observer, seeing love, would love too. For before loving one might think not to love, yet afterwards would love having seen love. Love, considering what pleases, reveals itself in another's power. For just as color rises to the face, so what stirs the soul rises to the tongue. I say no more, for I risk offending the greater by speaking of the lesser, if indeed I am unworthy, shunning as I do the state of bliss. I offer only what I understand. For what I do not deserve, I do not claim to understand, lest I imply that I deserve it. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Behind every fortune there is a crime. The more one judges, the less one loves. All human power is a compound of time and patience. Great minds always tend to see virtue in misfortune. When you doubt your power, you give power to your doubt. Every moment of happiness requires a great amount of ignorance. Do you know what is the hardest thing in life? To make a choice. The world are a ship in full sail, a galloping horse and a woman. There is no such thing as a great talent without great willpower. It is quite right what they say, the three most beautiful sights in memories beautify life, but the capacity to forget makes it bearable. An unfulfilled vocation drains the color from a man's entire existence. Equality may be a right, but no power on earth can convert it into fact. In diving to the bottom of pleasure, we bring up more gravel than pearls. Solitude is fine, but you need someone to tell you that solitude is fine. Our worst misfortunes never happen, and most miseries lie in anticipation. The victory always has a lot of parents, but the defeat is always an orphan. Poetry is only born after painful journeys into the vast regions of thought. It is easy to sit up and take notice. What is difficult is getting up and taking action. Someday you will find out that there is far more happiness in another's happiness than in your own. How natural it is to destroy what we cannot possess, to deny what we do not understand, and to insult what we envy. There are two histories, official history, lying, and then secret history, where you find the real causes of events. Hatred is the vice of narrow souls. They feed it with all their littleness and make it the pretext of base tyrannies. God is the author, men are only the players. These grand pieces which are played upon earth have been composed in heaven. When women love us, they forgive us everything, even our crimes. When they do not love us, they give us credit for nothing, not even our virtues. To live in the presence of great truths and eternal laws, to be led by permanent ideals, that is what keeps a man patient when the world ignores him, and calm and unspoiled when the world praises him. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. Do not weep, do not wax indignant, understand. Everything excellent is as difficult as it is rare. There can be no hope without fear, and no fear without hope. When a man is prey to his emotions, he is not his own master. Know to laugh, not to lament, not to detest, but to understand. No matter how thin you slice it, there will always be two sides. The endeavor to understand is the first and only basis of virtue. What Paul says about Peter tells us more about Paul than about Peter. If you want the present to be different from the past, study the past. There is no hope unmingled with fear, and no fear unmingled with hope. Pride is pleasure arising from a man's thinking too highly of himself. I do not know how to teach philosophy without becoming a disturber of the peace. In so far as the mind sees things in their eternal aspect, it participates in eternity. The more clearly you understand yourself and your emotions, the more you become a lover of what is. Emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. A free man thinks of nothing less than of death, and his wisdom is a meditation, not on death, but on life. I have striven not to laugh at human actions, not to weep at them, nor to hate them, but to understand them. The highest activity a human being can attain is learning for understanding, because to understand is to be free. I have made a ceaseless effort not to ridicule, not to bewail, not to scorn human actions, but to understand them. Peace is not the absence of war. It is a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition of benevolence, confidence, justice. In practical life, we are compelled to follow what is most probable. In speculative thought, we are compelled to follow truth. Be not astonished at new ideas, for it is well known to you that a thing does not therefore cease to be true, because it is not accepted by many. I would warn you that I do not attribute to nature either beauty or deformity, order or confusion. Only in relation to our imagination can things be called beautiful or ugly, well-ordered or confused. Happiness is not the reward of virtue, but is virtue itself. Nor do we delight in happiness because we restrain from our lusts, but on the contrary because we delight in it, therefore we are able to restrain them. The more you struggle to live, the less you live. Give up the notion that you must be sure of what you are doing. Instead, surrender to what is real within you, for that alone is sure. You are above everything distressing. Of all the things that are beyond my power, I value nothing more highly than to be allowed the honor of entering into bonds of friendship with people who sincerely love truth. For, of things beyond our power, I believe there is nothing in the world which we can love with tranquility except such men. Better that right counsels be known to enemies than that the evil secrets of tyrants should be concealed from the citizens. They who can treat secretly of the affairs of a nation have it absolutely under their authority, and as they plot against the enemy in time of war, so do they against the citizens in time of peace. The greatest secret of monarchic rule is to keep men deceived and to cloak in the specious name of religion the fear by which they must be checked, so that they will fight for slavery as they would for salvation, and will think it not shameful, but a most honorable achievement, to give their life and blood that one man may have a ground for boasting. Those who wish to seek out the cause of miracles and to understand the things of nature as philosophers, and not to stare at them in astonishment like fools, are soon considered heretical and impious, and proclaimed as such by those whom the mob adores as the interpreters of nature and the gods. For these men know that, once ignorance is put aside, that wonderment would be taken away, which is the only means by which their authority is preserved. Further conceive, I beg, that a stone, while continuing in motion, should be capable of thinking and knowing, that it is endeavoring, as far as it can, to continue to move. Such a stone, being conscious merely of its own endeavor and not at all indifferent, would believe itself to be completely free, and would think that it continued in motion solely because of its own wish. This is that human freedom which all boast that they possess, and which consists solely in the fact that men are conscious of their own desire, but are ignorant of the causes whereby that desire has been determined. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most, reason is also choice. Solitude sometimes is best society. Contemplation is wisdom's best nurse. Where no hope is left no fear. Hope allows us to bid farewell to fear. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Hard are the ways of truth, and rough to walk. Beauty is God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. Boast not of what thou wouldst have done, but do. The best apology against false accusers is silence. Death is the golden key that opens the palace of eternity. You can make hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. It's all in the mind. None can love freedom heartily but good men. The rest love not freedom but license. Gratitude bestows reverence, changing forever how we experience life and the world. He who reigns within himself and rules passions, desires, and fears is more than a king. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. The end of all learning is to know God, and out of that knowledge to love and imitate him. Anarchy is the sure consequence of tyranny, for no power that is not limited by laws can ever be protected by them. There is nothing that making men rich and strong but that which they carry inside of them. True wealth is of the heart, not of the hand. For liberty hath a sharp and double edge, fit only to be handled by just and virtuous men. To bad and dissolute it becomes a mischief unwieldy in their own hands. Gratitude bestows reverence, allowing us to encounter everyday epiphanies, those transcendent moments of awe that change forever how we experience life and the world. Promiscuous reading is necessary to the constituting of human nature. The attempt to keep out evil doctrine by licensing is like the exploit of that gallant man who thought to keep out the crows by shutting the park gate. When we speak of knowing God, it must be understood with reference to man's limited powers of comprehension. God, as he really is far beyond man's imagination, let alone understanding. God has revealed only so much of himself as our minds can conceive and the weakness of our nature can bear. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who false. Truth does not blush. I believe because it is absurd. Certum est quia impossible est. Hope is patience with the lamp lit. What has Athens to do with Jerusalem? The first reaction to truth is hatred. It is certain because it is impossible. You say we worship the Son, so do you. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the Church. Under no circumstances should a true Christian draw the sword. Truth persuades by teaching, but does not teach by persuading. Under no circumstances should a true Christian draw the sword. There is no public entertainment which does not inflict spiritual damage. He who lives only to benefit himself confers on the world a benefit when he dies. Wide are men's inquiries into uncertainties. Wider still are their disputes about conjectures. You can judge the quality of their faith from the way they behave. Discipline is an index to doctrine. If the Tiber rises too high or the Nile too low, the remedy is always feeding Christians to the lions. Men remain in ignorance as long as they hate, and they hate unjustly as long as they remain in ignorance. Truth and the hatred of truth come into our world together. As soon as truth appears, it is regarded as an enemy. We live in the world with you. We do not forsake forum or bath or workshop or inn or market or any other place of commerce. We sail with you, fight with you, farm with you. For it is really better for us not to know a thing, because God has not revealed it to us, than to know it according to man's wisdom, because he has been bold enough to assume it. Now we allow that life begins with conception, because we contend that the soul also begins from conception, life taking its commencement at the same moment and place that the soul does. In one sense there will be something difficult even for God, namely, that which he has not done, not because he could not, but because he would not do it. For with God, to be willing is to be able, and to be unwilling is to be unable. All that he has willed, however, he has both been able to accomplish and has displayed his ability. But how will a Christian engage in war? Indeed, how will a Christian even engage in military service during peacetime, without the sword which the Lord has taken away? For although soldiers had approached John to receive instructions and a centurion believed, this does not change the fact that afterward the Lord, by disarming Peter, disarmed every soldier. Examine then, and see if he be not the dispenser of kingdoms, who is Lord at once of the world which is ruled, and of man himself who rules. If he have not ordained the changes of dynasties, with their appointed seasons, who was before all time, and made the world a body of times, if the rise and the fall of states are not the work of him, under whose sovereignty the human race once existed without states at all. Tant il est vrai quoiqu'une naissance en est pure, des païens vugi dire. De la vint que el apôtre déclare, que les du sexes ayant été sanctifiés, engendrant des saints, non moins par la prérogative de la semence, que par la loi de l'institution. Des lours ajout-il, ils nutrient impurs, comme voulant faire entendre que les enfants des fidèles sont désignés néanmoins à la sainteté, et conséquemment au salut, afin que par le guet de cette espérance, ils vint en aide aux marriages, qu'ils avaient jugé à propos de maintenir. Des lours ils se souviennent de l'oracle du Seigneur. Quiconque ni renaître point de l'eau et de l'esprit, ni pour entre dans le royaume de Dieu. How beautiful, then, the marriage of two Christians, two who are one in home, one in desire, one in the way of life they follow, one in the religion they practice. Nothing divides them either in flesh or in spirit. They pray together, they worship together, they fast together, instructing one another, encouraging one another, strengthening one another. Side by side they visit God's church and partake God's banquet. Side by side they face difficulties and persecution, share their consolations. They have no secrets from one another. They never shun each other's company. They never bring sorrow to each other's hearts. Seeing this, Christ rejoices. To such as these he gives his peace. Where there are two together, there also he is present. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. In dignity of being we ascend. All that we behold is full of blessings. We feel that we are greater than we know. Come grow old with me, the best is yet to be. And even as these are well and wisely fixed, nature never did betray the heart that loved her. Fill your paper with the breathings of your heart. The flower that smells the sweetest is shy and lowly. Through love, through hope, and faith's transcendent dower. Wild is the music of autumnal winds amongst the faded woods. Wisdom is oftentimes nearer when we stoop than when we soar. The education of circumstances is superior to that of tuition. Strongest minds are often those whom the noisy world hears least. Be mild and cleave to gentle things, thy glory and thy happiness be there. How many undervalue the power of simplicity, but it is the real key to the heart. Memories, images, and precious thoughts that shall not die and cannot be destroyed. The mind that is wise mourns less for what age takes away than what it leaves behind. That best portion of a man's life, his little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love. With an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. We have within ourselves enough to fill the present day with joy and overspread the future years with hope. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility. Serene will be our days, and bright and happy will our nature be, when love is an unerring light and joy its own security. Write to me frequently and the longest letters possible. Never mind whether you have facts or no to communicate. Fill your paper with the breathings of your heart. Neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life, shall ever prevail against us. Life is divided into three terms: that which was, which is, and which will be. Let us learn from the past to profit by the present, and from the present to live better in the future. And suddenly all your troubles melt away, all your worries are gone, and it is for no reason other than the look in your partner's eyes. Yes, sometimes life and love really is that simple. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Men of thought and men of action, clear the way. There's a good time coming, boys, a good time coming. Aid the dawning tongue and pen, aid it hopes of honest men. If happy I and wretched he, perhaps the king would change with me. Some love to roam o'er the dark sea's foam, where the shrill winds whistle free. An arrow may fly through the air and leave no trace, but an ill thought leaves a trail like a serpent. Water is the mother of the vine, the nurse and fountain of fecundity, the adorner and refresher of the world. Nations, like individuals, cannot become desperate gamblers with impunity. Punishment is sure to overtake them sooner or later. But the sunshine eye shall light the sky, as round and round we run, and the truth shall ever come uppermost, and justice shall be done. He who has mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have made foes. If you have none, small is the work that you have done. Men, it has been well said, think in herds. It will be seen that they go mad in herds, while they only recover their senses slowly, and one by one. Truth, and if mine eyes can bear its blaze and trace its symmetries, measure its distance, and its advent wait, I am no prophet, I but calculate. Every age has its peculiar folly. Some scheme, project, or fantasy falsehood can look so like the truth, who can assure themselves of certain happiness. No man chooses evil because it is evil. He only mistakes it for happiness, the good he seeks. Life, although it may only be an accumulation of anguish, is dear to me, and I will defend it. I could not understand why men who knew all about good and evil could hate and kill each other. I was benevolent and good. Misery made me a fiend. Make me happy, and I shall again be virtuous. Satan has his companions, fellow devils, to admire and encourage him, but I am solitary and detested. How mutable are our feelings, and how strange is that clinging love we have of life, even in the excess of misery. The companions of our childhood always possess a certain power over our minds, which hardly any later friend can obtain. It is true, we shall be monsters, cut off from all the world, but on that account we shall be more attached to one another. The fallen angel becomes a malignant devil, yet even that enemy of God and man had friends and associates in his desolation. I am alone. The world to me was a secret, which I desired to discover. To her it was a vacancy, which she sought to people with imaginations of her own. Listen to me, Frankenstein. You accuse me of murder, and yet you would, with a satisfied conscience, destroy your own creature. Oh, praise the eternal justice of man. I have love in me the likes of which you can scarcely imagine, and rage the likes of which you would not believe. If I cannot satisfy the one, I will indulge the other. The whole series of my life appeared to me as a dream. I sometimes doubted if indeed it were all true, for it never presented itself to my mind with the force of reality. How dangerous is the acquirement of knowledge, and how much happier that man is who believes his native town to be the world, than he who aspires to be greater than his nature will allow. I do know that for the sympathy of one living being, I would make peace with all. I have love in me the likes of which you can scarcely imagine, and rage the likes of which you would not believe. If I cannot satisfy the one, I will indulge the other. Invention, it must be humbly admitted, does not consist in creating out of void but out of chaos. The materials must in the first place be afforded. It can give form to dark, shapeless substances, but cannot bring into being the substance itself. Hateful day when I received life, I exclaimed in agony. Accursed Creator, why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turned from me in disgust? God, in pity, made man beautiful and alluring after his own image, but my form is a filthy type of yours, more horrid even from the very resemblance. Satan had his companions, fellow devils, to admire and encourage him, but I am solitary and abhorred. Frankenstein. Even broken in spirit as he is, no one can feel more deeply than he does the beauties of nature. The starry sky, the sea, and every sight afforded by these wonderful regions seems still to have the power of elevating his soul from earth. Such a man has a double existence. He may suffer misery and be overwhelmed by disappointments. Yet, when he has retired into himself, he will be like a celestial spirit that has a halo around him, within whose circle no grief or folly ventures. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those. The beginning is always today. Virtue can only flourish among equals. When we feel deeply, we reason profoundly. Life cannot be seen by an unmoved spectator. Judicious books enlarge the mind and improve the heart. It is justice, not charity, that is wanting in the world. I do not wish women to have power over men, but over themselves. Women do not want power over men, they want power over themselves. The mind will ever be unstable, that has only prejudices to rest on. Let woman share the rights, and she will emulate the virtues of man. Strengthen the female mind by enlarging it, and there will be an end. When poverty is more disgraceful than even vice, is not morality cut to the quick? Strengthen the female mind by enlarging it, and there will be an end to blind obedience. Only that education deserves emphatically to be termed cultivation of the mind which. No man chooses evil because it's evil. He only mistakes it for happiness, the good he seeks. Men, in general, seem to employ their reason to justify prejudices, rather than to root them out. The more equality there is established among men, the more virtue and happiness will reign in society. Men and women must be educated, in a great degree, by the opinions and manners of the society they live in. Let woman share the rights, and she will emulate the virtues of man, for she must grow more perfect when emancipated. Only that education deserves emphatically to be termed cultivation of the mind, which teaches young people how to begin to think. Friendship is a serious affection, the most sublime of all affections, because it is founded on principle and cemented by time. Taught from infancy that beauty is woman's scepter, the mind shapes itself to the body, and roaming round its gilt cage, only seeks to adorn its prison. If we revert to history, we shall find that the women who have distinguished themselves have neither been the most beautiful nor the most gentle of their sex. The mind will ever be unstable that has only prejudices to rest on, and the current will run with destructive fury when there are no barriers to break its force. Women are systematically degraded by receiving the trivial attentions which men think it manly to pay to the sex, when, in fact, men are insultingly supporting their own superiority. Independence I have long considered as the grand blessing of life, the basis of every virtue, and independence I will ever secure by contracting my wants, though I were to live on a barren heath. People thinking for themselves have more energy in their voice than any government which it is possible for human wisdom to invent, and every government not aware of this sacred truth will, at some period, be suddenly overturned. Love from its very nature must be transitory. To seek for a secret that would render it constant would be as wild a search as for the philosopher's stone or the grand panacea, and the discovery would be equally useless, or rather pernicious to mankind. The most holy band of society is friendship. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. As wave is driven by wave. Every lover is a soldier. Nothing is stronger than habit. God himself helps those who dare. If you would be loved, be lovable. And every passing moment is renewed. Is left behind, what never was is now. Always forever and new, what was before. One should learn even from one's enemies. And each pursues the wave ahead. Anything cracked will shatter at a touch. Love is the force that leaves you colorless. Love will enter cloaked in friendship's name. So time flies on and follows, flies and follows. In our play, we reveal what kind of people we are. It's a kindness that the mind can go where it wishes. Take rest. A field that has rested gives a beautiful crop. Be patient and tough. One day this pain will be useful to you. Let others praise ancient times. I am glad I was born in these. Happy are those who dare courageously to defend what they love. Omnia mutantur, nihil interit, everything changes, nothing perishes. Fas est ob has docere, it is right to be taught even by an enemy. Dignity and love do not blend well, nor do they continue long together. Dripping water hollows out stone, not through force but through persistence. We are ever striving after what is forbidden, and coveting what is denied us. Seep create mals aspera spina rosas. Often the prickly thorn produces tender roses. I am the poet of the poor because I was poor when I loved. Since I could not give gifts, I gave words. Happy is the man who has broken the chains which hurt the mind, and has given up worrying once and for all. Give me the waters of Lethe that numb the heart. If they exist, I will still not have the power to forget you. Perfer et obdura, dolor hic tibi prodrit olim. Be patient and tough. Someday this pain will be useful to you. Chance is always powerful. Let your hook be always cast. In the pool where you least expect it, there will be a fish. Eurydice, dying now a second time, uttered no complaint against her husband. What was there to complain of but that she had been loved? I grabbed a pile of dust, and holding it up, foolishly asked for as many birthdays as the grains of dust. I forgot to ask that they be years of youth. I am dragged along by a strange new force. Desire and reason are pulling in different directions. I see the right way and approve it, but follow the wrong. A new idea is delicate. It can be killed by a sneer or a yawn. It can be stabbed to death by a quip, and worried to death by a frown on the right man's brow. When he, whoever of the gods it was, had thus arranged in order and resolved that chaotic mass, and reduced it, thus resolved, to cosmic parts, he first molded the earth into the form of a mighty ball so that it might be of like form on every side, and that no region might be without its own forms of animate life. The stars and divine forms occupied the floor of heaven. The sea fell to the shining fishes for their home. Earth received the beasts, and the mobile air the birds. Then man was born. Though all other animals are prone, and fix their gaze upon the earth, he gave to man an uplifted face, and bade him stand erect and turn his eyes to heaven. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily judge. Great minds have purposes, others have wishes. Love is never lost. If not reciprocated, it will flow back and soften and purify the heart. A kind heart is a fountain of gladness, making everything in its vicinity freshen into smiles. The tie which links mother and child is of such pure and immaculate strength as to be never violated. Others may write from the head, but he writes from the heart, and the heart will always understand him. Ducks and geese are foolish things, and must be looked after, but girls can take care of themselves. There is nothing like the silence and loneliness of night to bring dark shadows over the brightest mind. Christmas is the season for kindling the fire of hospitality in the hall, the genial flame of charity in the heart. A tart temper never mellows with age, and a sharp tongue is the only edged tool that grows keener with constant use. I profess not to know how women's hearts are wooed and won. To me, they have always been matters of riddle and admiration. There is a sacredness in tears. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. Sweet is the memory of distant friends. Like the mellow rays of the departing sun, it falls tenderly, yet sadly on the heart. Great minds have purpose, others have wishes. Little minds are tamed and subdued by misfortunes, but great minds rise above them. And if unhappy in her love, her heart is like some fortress that has been captured and sacked, and abandoned and left desolate. To look upon its grass-grown yard, where the sunbeams seem to sleep so quietly, one would think that there at least the dead might rest in peace. Balt Van Tassel was an easy, indulgent soul. He loved his daughter better even than his pipe, and like a reasonable man and an excellent father, let her have her way in everything. There is in every true woman's heart a spark of heavenly fire, which lies dormant in the broad daylight of prosperity, but which kindles up, and beams and blazes in the dark hour of adversity. There are certain half-dreaming moods of mind in which we naturally steal away from noise and glare, and seek some quiet haunt where we may indulge our reveries and build our air castles undisturbed. There is a certain relief in change, even though it be from bad to worse, as I have found in traveling in a stage coach, that it is often a comfort to shift one's position and be bruised in a new place. There is a sacredness in tears. They are not a mark of weakness but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. Surely happiness is reflective, like the light of heaven, and every countenance, bright with smiles and glowing with innocent enjoyment, is a mirror transmitting to others the rays of a supreme and ever-shining benevolence. The scholar only knows how dear these silent, yet eloquent, companions of pure thoughts and innocent hours become in the season of adversity. When all that is worldly turns to dross around us, these only retain their steady value. And he would have passed a pleasant life of it, in despite of the devil and all his works, if his path had not been crossed by a being that causes more perplexity to mortal man than ghosts, goblins, and the whole race of witches put together, and that was a woman. Sometimes he spent hours together in the great libraries of Paris, those catacombs of departed authors, rummaging among their hordes of dusty and obsolete works in quest of food for his unhealthy appetite. He was, in a manner, a literary ghoul, feeding in the charnel house of decayed literature. Some minds corrode and grow inactive under the loss of personal liberty. Others grow morbid and irritable. But it is the nature of the poet to become tender and imaginative in the loneliness of confinement. He banquets upon the honey of his own thoughts, and like the captive bird, pours forth his soul in melody. A mother is the truest friend we have, when trials heavy and sudden fall upon us, when adversity takes the place of prosperity, when friends desert us, when trouble thickens around us, still will she cling to us, and endeavor by her kind precepts and counsels to dissipate the clouds of darkness, and cause peace to return to our hearts. All these, however, were mere terrors of the night, phantoms of the mind that walk in darkness, and though he had seen many specters in his time, and been more than once beset by Satan in divers shapes, in his lonely preambulations, yet daylight put an end to all these evils. And he would have passed a pleasant life of it, in despite of the devil and all his works, if his path had not been crossed by a being that causes more perplexity to mortal man than ghosts, goblins, and the whole race of witches put together, and that was a woman. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself, if I knew myself I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopeless Love is the only gold. Life is brief, but love is long. Nothing in nature is unbeautiful. Knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers. 'Tis not too late to seek a newer world. Faith is believing what we cannot prove. And memory fed the soul of love with tears. At last she sought out memory, and they trod. The shell must break before the bird can fly. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. And love mourned long, and sorrowed after hope. He that wrongs his friend, wrongs himself more. Love's arms were wreathed about the neck of hope. And hope kissed love, and love drew in her breath. In that close kiss, and drank her whispered tales. They said that love would die when hope was gone. Alfred Lord Tennyson quote, "Love is the only gold." We are all a part of every person we have ever met. The same old paths where love had walked with hope. Ours is not to wonder why. Ours is just to do or die. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Our echoes roll from soul to soul, and grow forever and forever. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. What the sunshine is to the flower, the Lord Jesus Christ is to my soul. Hope smiles from the threshold of the year to come, whispering it will be happier. If I had a flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk through my garden forever. Self-reverence, self-knowledge, self-control, these three alone lead one to sovereign power. It's better to have tried and failed than to live life, wondering what would have happened if I had tried. The happiness of a man in this life does not consist in the absence, but in the mastery of his passions. If you don't concentrate on what you are doing, then the thing that you are doing is not what you are thinking. I can't sleep without knowing there's hope. Half the night I waste in sighs. In a wakeful doze I sorrow, for the hands, for the lips, the eyes, for the meeting of tomorrow. No man ever got very high by pulling other people down. The intelligent merchant does not knock his competitors. The sensible worker does not work those who work with him. Don't knock your friends. Don't knock your enemies. Don't knock yourself. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those. Adventure is not outside man, it is within. Poor fellow, I think he is in love with you. What loneliness is more lonely than distrust? It is never too late to be what you might have been. It is always fatal to have music or poetry interrupted. Our deeds determine us as much as we determine our deeds. Life seems to go on without effort when I am filled with music. Only in the agony of parting do we look into the depths of love. I am not imposed upon by fine words. I can see what actions mean. People are almost always better than their neighbors think they are. What do we live for, if it is not to make life less difficult for each other? And of course men know best about everything, except what women know better. It is a narrow mind which cannot look at a subject from various points of view. But what we call our despair is often only the painful eagerness of unfed hope. Animals are such agreeable friends they ask no questions. They pass no criticisms. It will never rain roses. When we want to have more roses, we must plant more roses. Keep true, never be ashamed of doing right. Decide what you think is right and stick to it. Selfish, a judgment readily passed by those who have never tested their own power of sacrifice. Blessed is the man who, having nothing to say, abstains from giving us wordy evidence of the fact. No evil dooms us hopelessly except the evil we love and desire to continue in, and make no effort to escape from. It seems to me we can never give up longing and wishing while we are still alive. There are certain things we feel to be beautiful and good, and we must hunger for them. If we had a keen vision and feeling of all ordinary human life, it would be like hearing the grass grow and the squirrel's heart beat, and we should die of that roar which lies on the other side of silence. For the growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been, is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life, and rest in unvisited tombs. I like not only to be loved, but also to be told that I am loved. I am not sure that you are of the same mind, but the realm of silence is large enough beyond the grave. This is the world of light and speech, and I shall take leave to tell you that you are very dear. What greater thing is there for two human souls than to feel that they are joined for life, to strengthen each other in all labor, to rest on each other in all sorrow, to minister to each other in all pain, to be one with each other in silent, unspeakable memories at the moment of the last parting. We mortals, men and women, devour many a disappointment between breakfast and dinner time, keep back the tears and look a little pale about the lips, and in answer to inquiries say, "Oh, nothing." Pride helps, and pride is not a bad thing when it only urges us to hide our hurts, not to hurt others. I am not aware of it, and to me it is one of the most odious things in a girl's life, that there must always be some supposition of falling in love coming between her and any man who is kind to her. I have no ground for the nonsensical vanity of fancying everybody who comes near me is in love with me. But the effect of her being on those around her was incalculably diffusive, for the growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been, is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life, and rest in unvisited tombs. We could never have loved the earth so well if we had had no childhood in it, if it were not the earth where the same flowers come up again every spring that we used to gather with our tiny fingers as we sat lisping to ourselves on the grass, the same hips and haws on the autumn hedgerows, the same redbreasts that we used to call God's birds, because they did no harm to the precious crops. What novelty is worth that sweet monotony where everything is known and loved because it is known? Is not this a true autumn day? Just the still melancholy that I love that makes life and nature harmonize. The birds are consulting about their migrations. The trees are putting on the hectic or the pallid hues of decay and begin to strew the ground, that one's very footsteps may not disturb the repose of earth and air, while they give us a scent that is a perfect anodyne to the restless spirit. Delicious autumn. My very soul is wedded to it, and if I were a bird, I would fly about the earth seeking the successive autumns. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. We need never be ashamed of our tears. You have been the last dream of my soul. What greater gift than the love of a cat? Procrastination is the thief of time, collar him. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. The pain of parting is nothing to the joy of meeting again. And oh, there are days in this life and worth death. I wish you to know that you have been the last dream of my soul. No one is useless in this world who lightens the burdens of another. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. Never close your lips to those whom you have already opened your heart. There are books of which the backs and covers are by far the best parts. There is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. Have a heart that never hardens, and a temper that never tires, and a touch that never hurts. Every traveler has a home of his own, and he learns to appreciate it the more from his wandering. In a word, I was too cowardly to do what I knew to be right, as I had been too cowardly to avoid doing what I knew to be wrong. Reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man has many, not on your past misfortunes, of which all men have some. A wonderful fact to reflect upon, that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. To conceal anything from those to whom I am attached is not in my nature. I can never close my lips where I have opened my heart. There was a long, hard time when I kept far from me the remembrance of what I had thrown away, when I was quite ignorant of its worth. I loved her against reason, against promise, against peace, against hope, against happiness, against all discouragement that could be. It was one of those March days when the sun shines hot and the wind blows cold, when it is summer in the light and winter in the shade. And yet I have had the weakness, and have still the weakness, to wish you to know with what a sudden mastery you kindled me, heap of ashes that I am, into fire. Suffering has been stronger than all other teaching, and has taught me to understand what your heart used to be. I have been bent and broken, but I hope into a better shape. It is a fair, even-handed, noble adjustment of things, that while there is infection in disease and sorrow, there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. Love her, love her, love her. If she favors you, love her. If she wounds you, love her. If she tears your heart to pieces, and as it gets older and stronger it will tear deeper, love her, love her, love her. Heaven knows we need never be ashamed of our tears, for they are rain upon the blinding dust of earth, overlying our hard hearts. I was better after I had cried than before, more sorry, more aware of my own ingratitude, more gentle. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. Out of my thoughts, you are part of my existence, part of myself. You have been in every line I have ever read since I first came here, the rough common boy whose poor heart you wounded even then. You have been in every prospect I have ever seen since, on the river, on the sails of the ships, on the marshes, in the clouds, in the light, in the darkness, in the wind, in the woods, in the sea, in the streets. You have been the embodiment of every graceful fancy that my mind has ever become acquainted with. The stones of which the strongest London buildings are made are not more real or more impossible to displace with your hands than your presence and influence have been to me, there and everywhere, and will be. Estella, to the last hour of my life, you cannot choose but remain part of my character, part of the little good in me, part of the evil. But in this separation I associate you only with the good, and I will faithfully hold you to that always, for you must have done me far more good than harm. Let me feel now what sharp distress I may. O God bless you, God forgive you. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? No, the earth laughs in flowers. Always do what you are afraid to do. Life is a journey, not a destination. It is not the length of life, but the depth. When it is dark enough, you can see the stars. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. He is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Live in the sunshine, swim the sea, drink the wild air. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. All I have seen teaches me to trust the Creator for all I have not seen. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. If we encounter a man of rare intellect, we should ask him what books he reads. It is one of the blessings of old friends that you can afford to be stupid with them. Dare to live the life you have dreamed for yourself. Go forward and make your dreams come true. I cannot remember the books I've read any more than the meals I have eaten. Even so, they have made me. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Without ambition one starts nothing. Without work one finishes nothing. The prize will not be sent to you, you have to win it. Make your own Bible. Select and collect all the words and sentences that in all your readings have been to you like the blast of a trumpet. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. But the great man is he who, in the midst of the crowd, keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. Is it so bad, then, to be misunderstood? Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates, and Jesus, and Luther, and Copernicus, and Galileo, and Newton, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. To be great is to be misunderstood. The glory of friendship is not the outstretched hand, not the kindly smile, nor the joy of companionship. It is the spiritual inspiration that comes to one when you discover that someone else believes in you and is willing to trust you with a friendship. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You shall begin it serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. Whatever you do, you need courage. Whatever course you decide upon, there is always someone to tell you that you are wrong. There are always difficulties arising that tempt you to believe your critics are right. To map out a course of action and follow it to an end requires some of the same courage that a soldier needs. Peace has its victories, but it takes brave men and women to win them. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. You can easily judge the character of a man. Ask courageous questions. Be aware of human fallibility. Cherish your species and your planet. We are the universe experiencing itself. I don't want to believe, I want to know. Do not be satisfied with superficial answers. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Nothing disturbs me more than the glorification of stupidity. Even through your hardest days, remember we are all made of stardust. We are like butterflies who flutter for a day and think it is forever. Be grateful every day for the brief but magnificent opportunity that life provides. The universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, seems like an awful waste of space. Imagination will often carry us to worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere. If we continue to accumulate only power and not wisdom, we will surely destroy ourselves. Be open to wonder and at the same time subject all claims to knowledge, without exception, to intense skeptical scrutiny. If we can't think for ourselves, if we're unwilling to question authority, then we're just putty in the hands of those in power. You can't convince a believer of anything, for their belief is not based on evidence, it's based on a deep-seated need to believe. We live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. Ask courageous questions. Do not be satisfied with superficial answers. Be open to wonder and at the same time subject all claims to knowledge. The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. Who are we if not measured by our impact on others? That's who we are. We're not who we say we are, we're not who we want to be. We are the sum of the influence and impact that we have in our lives on others. Cosmos is a Greek word for the order of the universe. It is, in a way, the opposite of chaos. It implies the deep interconnectedness of all things. It conveys awe for the intricate and subtle way in which the universe is put together. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we are up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes rambling along. The truth may be puzzling. It may take some work to grapple with. It may be counterintuitive. It may contradict deeply held prejudices. It may not be consonant with what we desperately want to be true, but our preferences do not determine what's true. The dumbing down of American is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content in the enormously influential media, the 30-second sound bites, now down to 10 seconds or less. Lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance. Finding the occasional straw of truth awash in a great ocean of confusion and bamboozle requires intelligence, vigilance, dedication, and courage. But if we don't practice these tough habits of thought, we cannot hope to solve the truly serious problems that face us, and we risk becoming a nation of suckers, up for grabs by the next charlatan who comes along. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time, when Awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues. When the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority. When clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness. An atheist is someone who is certain that God does not exist, someone who has compelling evidence against the existence of God. I know of no such compelling evidence. Because God can be relegated to remote times and places, and to ultimate causes, we would have to know a great deal more about the universe than we do now to be sure that no such God exists. To be certain of the existence of God, and to be certain of the non-existence of God, seem to me to be the confident extremes in a subject so riddled with doubt and uncertainty, as to inspire very little confidence indeed. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Any book worth banning is a book worth reading. Today's science fiction is tomorrow's science fact. The easiest way to solve a problem is to deny it exists. The day you stop learning is the day you begin decaying. People think of education as something that they can finish. The true delight is in the finding out rather than in the knowing. It is well known that the friend of a conqueror is but the last victim. When stupidity is considered patriotism, it is unsafe to be intelligent. Life is a journey, but don't worry, you'll find a parking spot at the end. It has been my philosophy of life that difficulties vanish when faced boldly. People who think they know everything are a great annoyance to those of us who do. Science can amuse and fascinate us all, but it is engineering that changes the world. There seems to be a feeling that anything that is natural is good. Strychnine is natural. The saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. Maybe happiness is this, not feeling like you should be elsewhere, doing something else, being someone else. So the universe is not quite as you thought it was. You'd better rearrange your beliefs then, because you certainly can't rearrange the universe. Self-education is, I firmly believe, the only kind of education there is. The only function of a school is to make self-education easier. Failing that, it does nothing. There are no nations. There is only humanity, and if we don't come to understand that right soon, there will be no nations because there will be no humanity. What is really amazing and frustrating is mankind's habit of refusing to see the obvious and inevitable until it is there, and then muttering about unforeseen catastrophes. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. I believe in evidence. I believe in observation, measurement, and reasoning, confirmed by independent observers. I'll believe anything, no matter how wild and ridiculous, if there is evidence for it. The wilder and more ridiculous something is, however, the firmer and more solid the evidence will have to be. Science is uncertain. Theories are subject to revision. Observations are open to a variety of interpretations, and scientists quarrel amongst themselves. This is disillusioning for those untrained in the scientific method, who thus turn to the rigid certainty of the Bible instead. There is something comfortable about a view that allows for no deviation, and that spares you the painful necessity of having to think. The soft bonds of love are indifferent to life and death. They hold through time so that yesterday's love is part of today's, and the confidence in tomorrow's love is also part of today's. And when one dies, the memory lives in the other and is warm and breathing. And when both die, I almost believe, rationalist though I am, that somewhere it remains, indestructible and eternal, enriching all of the universe by the mere fact that once it existed. Imagine the people who believe such things and who are not ashamed to ignore, totally, all the patient findings of thinking minds through all the centuries since the Bible was written. And it is these ignorant people, the most uneducated, the most unimaginative, the most unthinking among us, who would make themselves the guides and leaders of us all, who would force their feeble and childish beliefs on us, who would invade our schools and libraries and homes. I personally resent it bitterly. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopeful. Advertising is legalized lying. Our true nationality is mankind. Good books are the warehouses of ideas. If there is no God, nothing matters. If there is a God, nothing else matters. Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. If you fell down yesterday, stand up today. The crisis of today is the joke of tomorrow. The man who raises a fist has run out of ideas. If anything is possible, then nothing is interesting. If the world does not please you, you can change it. What really matters is what you do with what you have. The path of least resistance is the path of the loser. Everyone leaves the world, little better some by leaving. When a man realizes his littleness, his greatness can appear. The uglier a man's legs are, the better he plays golf, it's almost a law. If there is no God, nothing matters. If there is a God, nothing else matters. Marriage isn't what it was. It's become a different thing because women have become human beings. If your life doesn't end in failure, you haven't reached high enough. So it was failure I had to achieve. Losing your way on a journey is unfortunate, but losing your reason for the journey is a fate more cruel. Success is to be measured not by wealth, power, or fame, but by the ratio between what a man is and what he might be. We must not allow the clock and the calendar to blind us to the fact that each moment of life is a miracle and mystery. Let your love be stronger than your hate or anger. Learn the wisdom of compromise, for it is better to bend a little than to break. Sometimes you have to step outside of the person you've been and remember the person you were meant to be, the person you want to be, the person you are. Civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe. Let us learn the truth and spread it as far and wide as our circumstances allow, for the truth is the greatest weapon we have. There is no upper limit to what individuals are capable of doing with their minds. There is no age limit that bars them from beginning. There is no obstacle that cannot be overcome if they persist and believe. The true strength of rulers and empires lies not in armies or emotions, but in the belief of men that they are inflexibly open and truthful and legal. As soon as a government departs from that standard, it ceases to be anything more than the gang in possession, and its days are numbered. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. You can make anything by writing. No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. Eating and reading are two pleasures that combine admirably. There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. Someday you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. I can't imagine a man really enjoying a book and reading it only once. You can never get a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me. God can't give us peace and happiness apart from himself, because there is no such thing. To be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. A children's story that can only be enjoyed by children is not a good children's story in the slightest. I have learned now that while those who speak about one's miseries usually hurt, those who keep silence hurt more. The Christian does not think God will love us because we are good, but that God will make us good because he loves us. Love is not affectionate feeling, but a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good as far as it can be obtained. Friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, "What, you too? I thought that no one but myself." We are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be. It is a good rule after reading a new book, never to allow yourself another new one till you have read an old one in between. I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. Crying is all right in its way while it lasts, but you have to stop sooner or later, and then you still have to decide what to do. Atheism turns out to be too simple. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should never have found out that it has no meaning. I'm on Aslan's side, even if there isn't any Aslan to lead it. I'm going to live as like a Narnian as I can, even if there isn't any Narnia. No book is really worth reading at the age of 10, which is not equally, and often far more, worth reading at the age of 50 and beyond. If we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art. It has no survival value. Rather, it is one of those things which give value to survival. A man can no more diminish God's glory by refusing to worship him than a lunatic can put out the sun by scribbling the word darkness on the walls of his cell. Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Mental pain is less dramatic than physical pain, but it is more common and also more hard to bear. The frequent attempt to conceal mental pain increases the burden. It is easier to say, "My tooth is aching," than to say, "My heart is broken." It would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures, fooling about with drink and sex and ambition when infinite joy is offered us, like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully round with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable. Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps, you can understand what he is doing. He is getting the drains right and stopping the leaks in the roof and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing, and so you are not surprised. But presently he starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make any sense. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is that he is building quite a different house from the one you thought of, throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it himself. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. Being a fool for God was not merely all right but liberating. I had no knowledge of divine help, and all the world lost faith in gradual progress. No one who had once learned to identify happiness with wealth ever felt that he had wealth enough. See yourself in the mirror, you're separate from yourself. See the world in the mirror, you're separate from the world. I don't want that separation anymore. I suppose it's unfair, tricks of argument that leave wounds, but with this sort of thing that C.S. Lewis does, what I feel is a craftsman's joy at the sight of a superior performance. Anyone who studies our poisonous drugs, our denatured food, our death-trap automobiles and houses, our lung-rotting cities, must concede that we accept a good deal of murder as inevitable simply because it is done to make or save money. Many Christians, though keenly sensitive to the dangers of greed and discontent that come with an economy of continually increasing consumption, nevertheless feel that it is worth risking if only it can end man's physical miseries. The trouble is that it can't. In a finite world, continually increasing consumption is just not possible. Can we reasonably expect happiness from an insatiable appetite which, no matter how it stuffs its belly, is still psychologically like Oliver Twist in the poorhouse, holding up an empty bowl and begging, "I want some more"? Isn't it possible that our dream of the good society contained, from the beginning, a hidden violation of the 10th commandment, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods"? By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter most must let no man pull you so low as to hate him. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. A man who won't die for something is not fit to live. Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. We must live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. I have decided to stick to love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. No one really knows why they are alive until they know what they die for. But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I have a dream that one day little black boys and girls will be holding hands with little white boys and girls. We must come to see that the end we seek is a society at peace with itself, a society that can live with its conscience. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others. Science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man knowledge, which is power. Religion gives man wisdom, which is control. Science deals mainly with facts. Religion deals mainly with values. The two are not rivals. Everybody can be great, because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. As my sufferings mounted, I soon realized that there were 2 ways in which I could respond to my situation, either to react with bitterness or seek to transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow the latter course. If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as a Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, "Here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well." Now there is a final reason I think that Jesus says, "Love your enemies." It is this, that love has within it a redemptive power, and there is a power there that eventually transforms individuals. Just keep being friendly to that person. Just keep loving them, and they can't stand it too long. Oh, they react in many ways in the beginning. They react with guilt feelings, and sometimes they'll hate you a little more at that transition period, but just keep loving them. And by the power of your love, they will break down under the load. That's love, you see. It is redemptive, and this is why Jesus says love. There's something about love that builds up and is creative. There is something about hate that tears down and is destructive. So love your enemies. From loving your enemies. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved. Give me 26 soldiers of lead, and I will conquer the world. It is a press, certainly, but a press from which shall flow in inexhaustible streams through it. God will spread his word. A spring of truth shall flow from it. Like a new star it shall scatter the darkness of ignorance, and cause a light heretofore unknown to shine amongst men. Gutenberg 140. By seeking and blundering we learn. A person hears only what they understand. If I love you, what business is it of yours? Know thyself. If I knew myself, I'd run away. There is nothing worse than aggressive stupidity. Instruction does much, but encouragement everything. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. There is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. If you've never eaten while crying, you don't know what life tastes like. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Life belongs to the living, and he who lives must be prepared for changes. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. Things which matter. Happiness is a state of mind. Adults are only kids grown up. If you can dream it, you can do it. Progress is impossible without change. Just make sure you never do less than your best. Walt Disney quote, "Happiness is a state of mind." There is no magic in magic, it's all in the details. Always fight for quality, whether giving or receiving. Let your heart guide you, it whispers, so listen closely. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Believe in your dreams, no matter how impossible they seem. The difference in winning and losing is most often not quitting. That's the real trouble with the world. Too many people grow up. Everyone falls down. Getting back up is how you learn how to walk. All your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. If you can visualize it, if you can dream it, there's some way to do it. Many of the things that seem impossible now will become realities tomorrow. The flower that blooms in adversity is the rarest and most beautiful of all. All the adversity I've had in my life, all my troubles and obstacles have strengthened me. That's what we storytellers do. We restore order with imagination. We instill hope again and again and again. If you can dream it, you can do it. Always remember that this whole thing was started with a dream and a mouse. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. The sky has never been the limit. We are our own limits. It's then about breaking our personal limits and outgrowing ourselves to live our best lives. Whatever you do, do it well. Do it so well that when people see you do it, they will want to come back and see you do it again, and they will want to bring others and show them how well you do what you do.